Hello everyone, today we introduce our work, a heuristic algorithm for finding the short vectors in a lattice. We first introduce some basic knowledge about lattice and a brief introduction about BKZ algorithm. Then we give our analysis about lattice reduction and propose our strategy of reducing the basis. Finally, we introduce our main work, a new algorithm for finding the short vector. Lattice has become a hot topic in cryptology and especially in the post-quantum cryptography. It is not only important in the design of crypto systems, but also can be used to attack schemes such as RSA and ECDSA. In the theory of lattice, there are a number of important problems such as CVP, SVP, and LWE. Among them, the shortest vector problem, or the SVP, is a fundamental problem. It asks to find a shortest non-zero vector in a lattice. The problem has many variants according to the different circumstances. The unique SVP, the approximate SVP, and so on. To solve the problem, one of the methods is the lattice reduction. Typically, there are two classes of algorithms to find the shortest lattice vector. One is the accurate approach, namely enumeration and sieving. The other, approximate approach, is referred to as basis reduction. For example, L3 algorithm or BKZ algorithm. In this work, we mainly focus on the lattice reduction algorithms. L3, for example, is the first practically efficient algorithm in lattice reduction. The L3 has a polynomial time complexity, but the quality of output basis is limited. Schnorr and Ochner proposed BKZ, which has a time complexity larger than L3, but outputs a better lattice basis and consequently a shorter lattice vector. The BKZ algorithm achieves a good balance between the quality of reduced basis and the running time, and is the most commonly used lattice reduction algorithm to analyze the lattice. While BKZ is the mainstream algorithm for lattice reduction, its actual behavior is a more complicated matter. Usually, we use the Hermite factor to analyze its performance. The time complexity and output quality are affected by the block size in BKZ, and a line of studies and improvements on lattice reduction algorithms concentrated on the running time and the optimization of strategies and parameters. For example, the BKZ2 and the progressive BKZ are most recognized variants of lattice reduction algorithm. One of the qualities of BKZ is that if the block size is too large, the computation cost grows dramatically, while the output quality is not explicitly improved. A series of works have tried to reach some balance between output quality and running time by adjusting block sizes and the blockwise enumeration algorithm. In the study of lattice theory, a fundamental task is to design an efficient lattice reduction algorithm. In the analysis of lattice reduction, we need the projection of basis vectors. In BKZ, the projected vectors are computed by Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization. In fact, blockwise reduction algorithms involve SVP subroutines in projected sublattices, and our analysis will also rely on the quality of projected basis vectors. In BKZ-like algorithms, The shape of the projected reduced basis or the Gram-Schmidt basis follow a certain rule called the geometric series assumption as displayed in this slide. The logarithms of the norms of projected basis vectors roughly make a decreasing line. Based on this observation, one can estimate the norms of vectors after reduction in theory, and therefore evaluate the output quality. Specifically, if we are informed with the GSA parameters, we are able to recover the norm of the shortest vector in the reduced basis or the first vector in the BKZ output. We describe our algorithm to find short vectors in a lattice based on the analysis described before. Suppose the lattice or the target vector is drawn from a spherical distribution or not screwed to any other particular subspace. Thus, when the vector is projected to the last BKZ block, the projection has expected length as displayed on the left of the inequality in this slide. When the projected vector is the shortest one in the block, then the SVP subroutine is able to find it and insert it in front of the block. The condition for the projected vector being the shortest one is displayed below in this slide. The problem of searching the original vector's coordinates can be performed by the size reduction subroutine of L3. It is also the strategy of BKZ reduction, or after each enumeration call or SVP subroutine in the block they call size reduction to lift the projected vector into the original basis. In this work, we first replace the enumeration SVP solver with sieving to reach better performance. Further, instead of running one sieve call on a block, we construct different projected blocks. We construct different projected blocks and update the basis by calling sieve procedures on each of them. Assuming we have found a projection of a short vector v in the last block with a mu-dimensional sieve call in place of the blockwise enumeration, the last mu coefficients of the v over basis are therefore recovered. We go on to recover the rest of the coefficients of the vector v. Instead of simply using Blockwise method, we project the vectors on orthogonal blocks and find the coefficients by finding the shortest projected vectors in each of them. In particular, an SVP solver can find a short vector within a much smaller context, which helps us update the basis at an early stages of lattice reduction and find a relatively short vector. For a reduced basis, the sublattice generated by the first few vectors may contain a short vector that can be used to update the basis. According to the GSA, we are able to compute the norm of output vectors in such a sublattice and choose proper parameters. By sieving in the k-dimensional block, we obtain a vector of possibly smaller length. The volume of the sublattice is computed first with GSA. Following the Gaussian heuristic, this sublattice contains a vector of length as shown here in the slide. For example, set a proper k, or the dimension of the first block, then it is possible to recover a vector of norm only slightly larger than the shortest one. Even if the sieve core in such a sublattice does not produce the shortest vector in the lattice, it is still possible to update the basis and increase the Hermite factor. Therefore, after every sieve core on a block, shorter vectors are produced, and the quality of the basis is updated. The algorithm continues to reduce the basis by calling sieve on projected blocks until a vector short enough is found. Based on the discussion about recovering vectors while blockwise sieving, we present in here a new algorithm to find a short vector. The algorithm takes a big-Z reduced basis as input. Sieve produces are recursively performed on projected blocks. Insertion is applied following each sieve call to update the basis. Continue this process recursively until all coordinates are found for short lattice vector. And unlike previous algorithms, which rely on one SVP call on a projected block, the new algorithm projects the lattice over a list of orthogonal sublattices and uses sieve calls on the blocks consecutively. Heuristically, the shortest vector is still a vector short enough when projected on a sublattice. Thus, by calling sieve on each block, we're able to obtain a better local quality of the basis and progressively reach a shorter vector in the full lattice. In addition to the BS algorithm, there is a list of possible improvements to the approach, as displayed here. As a result of the improvements, we will produce a practical variant of BS called PBS, Progressive BS. First is progressive algorithm. We reduce the basis with a larger block size beta and the sieving size in every tool. With an updated Hermite factor, we are able to recover a shorter lattice vector by sieving. We can also simplify the reduction tool, merge the several sublattices in the middle into a few blocks, and use subsieve to run sieve to lower the cost. Further, we skip some sieve calls and use stronger BKZ reduction instead to ensure the quality of lattice basis. We implement the BS algorithm and show with experimental data how it actually performs. We first analyze the performance of basis BS on SVP challenges. The lattice instances are selected from the SVP challenge with medium dimension. We compare the average norm of the first output basis vector to test the performance of the algorithms and compare the average running time to test efficiency. On average, when a single core of BS is concerned, BS will output a vector 30% shorter than BKZ, while the running time is relatively longer than BKZ. We move on to run PBS and compare its performance with progressive BKZ. For the same block size beta, BS returns a vector about 15% than progressive BKZ, with time cost slightly more on average. To reach the same output norm, progressive BKZ has also to run several more tours of reduction with larger blocks, thus costing more time. As an application of the new approach, we go on to accelerate the primal strategy of solving LWE with PBS. We use PBS to solve LWE instances in a primal attack in order to put the algorithm into practical context. We can compare the performance of our approach with the sieving implementation from Jessica and BKZ. Our algorithm is able to solve the instances about 5% faster than sieving. The advantage of PBS is more obvious in larger blocks or in larger instance is concerned. We can heuristically explain that a smaller instance allows for only a small sieving context, thus reducing the effectiveness of the sieving subroutine. To conclude, this paper reviews the sieving approach to SVP and adapted the strategy to solving SVP in an average case for an ambiguously produced pre-processed basis of some delta. It is possible to generate projected sublattices where the projections of the short vector can be found by a sieving call. Based on the idea, we produce the basic block sieve algorithm and optimize the progressive block sieve algorithm. On lattices of SVP challenge, the basic BS is able to reach a shorter vector than BKZ with a slightly higher time cost. When the progressive variant is concerned, PBS takes less time than BKZ to reach a similar norm and requires fewer tools and a smaller beta as pre-processing. So this is the introduction of our work. Thank you for your time.